So this is gonna be the time that I got cheated on. Time while me and her together, I was living with her and I was driving her car. After all of the cheating and the lying and the scandals, I ended up finding out 2 weeks later that I was pregnant. Or welcome back. It has been quite some time since I posted a video here on YouTube, a year, almost a year to be exact, but instead of getting into all the reasons why I wasn't posting, we're just gonna kick back my channel again with something a little different. So today's video is going to be a story time. Story times are my favorite videos to watch on YouTube, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, a story time is essentially when somebody comes on to YouTube, they tell a story about something crazy that kind of happened in their life for entertainment purposes only. And I realized during this quarantine that I have so many crazy stories that are absolutely hilarious and I feel like can entertain everybody. We're all home right now anyway, so why not? Some disclaimers before we get started. I'm going to be using fake names. Obviously, I'm not here trying to expose anybody, trying to be messy or anything like that. So all the names in the story are going to be fake names, but everything that happened in this story is 100% accurate. And this is one of these stories where it's like this would only happen to me. I swear, some of the things that have happened in my life, like you'd only see in movies. Like this shit is literally insane. I'm also going to be changing up some of the locations, some of the time settings, and some of the names of the locations because, like I said, I just don't want anybody to know who this is. And if you do, let's just not, like, just don't. Like, if you know who this is, just don't be messy. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is something that I want to share in hopes to help somebody else not go through the same thing that I've gone through. It's hilarious, it's funny, it's supposed to be lighthearted. So get your wine, get your snacks, your girl has a coffee because I got work in a couple hours, and let's get started. So this is gonna be the time that I got cheated on. I got cheated on bad, y'all. I got played. I got played with a capital P. I was 19, naive, stupid. I am now 26 years old, so I've obviously grown, I've learned, I've changed. I just wanted to be an empathetic Pisces and think that everybody has their best interest at heart for me, when in all actuality, that's not the case. Stop talking and get to the story. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, because this won't make sense unless I do, I used to live in New Jersey from the time that I was 13 to the time that I was 18, and I moved from New Jersey to Connecticut when I was 19 years old. No. I was 18 years old. I was about to turn 19. I was like 2 months away from 19. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Still don't know what I want to do with my life. I was at community college as a general studies major, and me and my mom kind of were just looking around, and we were like, we don't have any family here, we don't really have much else of a reason to stay here. I was already graduated from high school, so we were like, let's just move back to Connecticut and start over again. And the crazy thing about this is that everything happens for a reason, because I was supposed to move back with my mom into her friend's house, but then we found out that we wouldn't have our own separate rooms. We would basically be sharing a basement, and that just wasn't a good situation for us with the way that we bicker and everything. I decided that I was going to move in with my father. He had moved to a new town. He had an apartment with a spare bedroom, and I figured, let's just move back there. So I contacted him. He said it was perfectly fine, and we decided to make our move back to Connecticut. Like I said, everything happens for a reason, because if this did not happen, this whole story would not have been brought about. And it's just crazy the way that God kind of places you in certain situations in life. So besides the point, moved back to Connecticut. I moved in with my dad, and I had no job at the time. Your girl was broke. She packed her whole life into her 1992 Honda Civic that was like literally dying. Drove all the way from New Jersey to Connecticut by herself. Moved back in with my father. So I had no job. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to go to college, but I was pretty much lost in the sauce. Let's just say that. So in the midst of me moving back to Connecticut while I was in New Jersey, I kept in contact with my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day. Love her. Hey girl, I'm moving back to New Jersey. When I get back, we should link. And she was like, yes, totally. So I got back, and we had kind of a hard time making plans. Either I was doing something or she was doing something, or I was going on like job interviews, or she was, you know, busy. So we finally came to the conclusion one night, we were both free, let's hang out. So I picked her up and went to her boyfriend's job, and I met her boyfriend. And while we were there, he basically was like, oh my god, we should go to this hookah bar. I haven't been there forever. You guys would love it. It would be so much fun. Now, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to call this hookah bar Cloud. And if you know the real name of this hookah bar, you're going to understand why I'm laughing so hard. Roll forward, we go to this hookah bar, and it's a Thursday because your girl wasn't employed at the time, so I was out. And this hookah bar was so dead. We walked in and there was like 5 people there. Oh no, I'm sorry, this was a Wednesday. And this is important because it's gonna play a part in the story going forward. So it was a Wednesday, went to the hookah bar, we're all hanging out, and it's like dead. It's dead. There's like maybe 6 people there who like are regulars. So our antisocial asses decided to go to the back and sit down, and we're smoking our hookah, and from my periph, I see a tall, tatted guy with a cowboy hat. And if you need Dakota circa 2012, 2013, I had a thing for country music. I loved country music. Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, like obsessed to the point where like I bought cowboy boots, I listened to country music, I go to country concerts constantly. This was before I had a daughter because I had a life then. And I was just obsessed. I was obsessed. So all you had to do was like country music and have some sort of either boots or a hat or something, and I was all in. I was in there. Mind you, I had no idea who this kid was, didn't know his name, didn't know his age, nothing. And I was just like, I have to have him. It has to happen. This has to happen. And back then, the way that I was, like if I saw somebody and I had my sights set on them, I had to have them. I put all of my energy into having them. Like my manifestation skills were so on point. And if I had put that energy into something else back then, I'd probably be a little more successful than I am today. So I kind of like tapped my friend and I'm like, who's that? And she's like, oh, I think my boyfriend knows him, whatever. So I see him and I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen. I'm like, I don't know what point in the night it's gonna happen, but like it's gonna happen. You know, basically this guy name. What are we gonna give him a name? Let's call him, all of my exes have the most generic names ever, so I can't even use that. Call him Ryan. I don't know, Ryan seems like a fuckboy name, so let's use it. So she texts me, she's like, girl, my boyfriend said that Ryan, like, you know, is like crushing on you, he thinks you're cute, whatever. And I was like, yes, knew it, it's happening. So he ends up coming into the back of the room and sitting down with us, and he introduces himself. He's like, hi, I'm Ryan. I introduce myself, and we sit down and we start chatting, and we're basically just having like good conversation. We're all laughing, having a great time. And like, I think I had said something like about how like Reese's are my favorite candy, and he's like, oh my god, mine too. And like everything that I would say he would agree with, which is like such a red flag, because like obviously he was just doing that to try to talk to me. And my low self-esteem ass was loving it. So basically like I would say something and he'd like, me too, I like that too. And at one point in the night he's like, I'm just gonna like marry you, like you're just like perfect. And I'm just like, you don't say. Let me mind you, he was a Gemini and I'm a Pisces, and that's a horrible mix. And I think this is my first and last experience ever with a Gemini, period. Talking, and by the end of the night, he's like, are you gonna come here tomorrow? Like tomorrow is Thursday, we have like a DJ come here. It's like really fun, everybody comes, like it's really low key tonight, but on Thursdays it's like packed. And I was like, oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm not working right now, I'm trying to kind of like meet new friends, get myself out there again, and get used to this new state that I'm living in. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So he goes, okay, take down my number. And he said to me, if you and your best friend want a ride here tomorrow, I'd be more than happy to pick you guys up and bring you here. Remember that, okay? I said, okay. He puts his number in my phone, and that was that. I end up dropping my best friend and her boyfriend off. I go home, and like right away I received a text from him, and it was like, it was so good meeting you tonight. Like, I feel like destiny made us both go to this hookah bar and we were supposed to meet. And yeah, red flag number 2. So we started talking, and right away he's just like very flirtatious, very interested, very adamant about seeing me again. He was like, so we're supposed to have like a really big snowstorm on Friday, and I was wondering if you'd want to sleep over. Red flag number 3. And that was during that time, if you're from Connecticut, remember that snowstorm Nemo in like 2013? It was huge. Like literally, I'm gonna put a picture in here of my car. Like this is my car, and the snow was like right basically on top of the hood. It was so bad. Like nobody could go to work for weeks. Everybody was stuck in their house. Like it was terrible. So imagine if I had said yes, I would have been stuck with this stranger that I don't know for weeks, literally. And that kind of set me off the wrong way, because I don't really like that. I like to get to know somebody before I like go to their house and sleep over. I mean, I've seen one too many episodes of CSI and Law and Order, and I just was like, no, it's not happening, because I could be on a milk carton the next day. So I told him yes, but obviously I didn't mean it because I wasn't assertive at the time, and I basically was like, yeah, sure, that's no problem, I'll definitely do that. So the next day comes and it's getting towards the nighttime. I get ready, I message my best friend, and we end up saying we want to end up going. So I texted him, because remember he said he would give us a ride there, and I said, hey, we'll be ready at this time if you're still up for giving us a ride. And he acted like he acted as if he had no idea what I was talking about. He was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you said you'd give us a ride there. And he's like, I said I would if you needed it, but I didn't say I was going to. I'm just like, what? Like, where do they do that at? So red flag number like 5. I said, okay, you know what? No problem. I was like, I'll drive myself there. I have a car. It's not a big deal. It's just you offered. So why offer something and not? I don't get it. Anyway, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way as well. I was like, ew, rude, like disgusting. So we end up going to the hookah bar Cloud, and we end up getting in. And I forgot to mention this, but if you were under 21, you could not drink there, and they were like very strict about it. If they saw you with like any kind of like beer bottle or anything in your hands and you were under 21, like you got kicked out. However, we were bad and we didn't listen to authorities or rules, so we would just sneak our stuff in like an iced tea Arizona can, and we would just go in there. He told me that he was 21, and that's why he was allowed to drink there. When we go in, we see him, I greet him, say hello, and we sit down, and he ends up disclosing to me that he actually lied about his age and that he's 20, not 21. He actually is only allowed to drink there because he knows the owners, like he used to work there, he did some like renovations there and things like that, so they're cool with him and they just let him drink. So he was like, as long as you're with me, like you're okay. So we end up sitting and we're talking, and I just noticed that he's very like touchy-feely, very like all over me, and I'm not gonna say it's a problem, but it is a little bit when like I don't know you yet. Like I don't even know like your middle name, and you're just like all over me. And there was this girl that was sitting next to him. So it was like my best friend, her boyfriend, me. What did I name him? Ryan. And there's this girl. I have no idea who she is. She's just there. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe she came solo. Like I don't know, but like she was just there. She didn't talk, didn't say anything, nothing. And so we end up sitting down, and like I said, we're talking, we're having conversation, and he was just like, just being weird, like very touchy-feely, very weird. Conversation wasn't really going where I thought it was going to go. Like he looked perfect on the outside, but mentally it was not all the way there. So we're talking and we're conversating, this and that, and then my friend goes, do you want to go down the street to the gas station so we can get an Arizona iced tea, because you already know what time it is? And I said, yes, absolutely. I look over to Ryan and I'm like, hey, we'll be right back. We're gonna go get iced tea and then come back. And there was a corner store like literally like a 60-second walk down the road. So we go and we grab it, and while I'm there, he's like texting me, and he's like, this girl next to me is so weird. She's all over me. I only want you. I don't even know why she's talking to me. Red flag number like 8,000. And I'm like, okay, well, like I just left. It's been 10 seconds. So like I can't imagine that that much has happened in the time that I'm gone unless you know her. Sorry, have to go get iced tea, so I'll be back in a few. Like, so basically grab the iced tea, we come back, we end up hanging out for the rest of the night. It was a pretty good night, but long story short, I ended up going home and realizing that I didn't really have that many feelings for him, and I wasn't as into him as I thought I was going to be, especially because for the next few days following, he was texting me constantly. If I didn't answer for like 15 minutes, he'd be like, did I do something wrong? What's going on? And I'm like, I'm just eating pizza. Like I'm eating pizza and watching a show. Like I'll text you when I'm done. Like it's not that deep, you know? So let me mind you that while I was at the hookah bar, I ended up meeting one of my best friends, longtime friends from like a while ago, and we ended up talking, and we're gonna give him a name, David. And I ended up talking to David, and he was like, oh, nice to meet you. Are you so-and-so's friend? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, cool. And then he ended up noticing that I was sitting with Ryan a lot. And so when Ryan had gone to the bathroom, he came up to me and he was like, are you guys like talking? And I was like, well, I wouldn't say talking. We kind of just met, but we've been, you know, texting, and like this is our second time hanging out. And he was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now, like, you need to be careful. And I was like, what do you mean? And in my head, I'm just like, okay, like maybe he's just jealous, or maybe he's just like, I don't know, weird. But he was like, no, like, I'm telling you right now, like, you seem like a really good girl and I'd hate to see you get hurt, but like, you need to be careful. And he's like, let me guess, did he ask you to sleep over already? And that's when I was like, fuck, no. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, he does that with everybody. Like, he'll get with a girl, he'll hook up with her, and then he kind of just like stops talking to her. And I was just like, well, thank you for the advice. But that in the back of my head, plus the vibes I had already been getting from him and all the red flags, I was kind of like, I just don't think this is for me. But instead of saying that, I ended up just doing what I usually did, and I just stopped texting him less and less because I wanted him to kind of get the point. And when he wasn't getting the point, I kind of had to say, listen, like, I don't think this is really working anymore. You seem like a great guy, but like, I just moved back here. I'm trying to get my life together. I don't even have a job right now. And I was like, I can't be concentrating on like boys and stuff. And he was really upset, really hurt, basically told me like everybody does this to him and he doesn't understand why I had to be the one to do it to him. And I felt really bad, I'm not gonna lie. I was really upset about the fact that I had to do this to him, but I just felt like it wasn't a good situation for me. But if you think that the situation ends there, it doesn't. That's just the beginning. To make a very long story short, ended it with him. Ended up talking to the boy that I met that night. I think I called him David. But I didn't talk to him right away. I waited a couple weeks. We just ended up to like texting. Noticed that we kind of vibed pretty well. We hung out and we just kind of started to like each other. And that's what ended up happening. It wasn't any shady shit. I wasn't trying to like end things with Ryan so I could be with David. It wasn't like that at all. I just found somebody that I vibed with, and that was that. And we ended up hanging out, and organically something romantic started to grow. That's another story for another time. I don't have enough time to talk about that today and everything that that situationship entailed, but I just did not have the best taste back then. For short, things with me and David ended up not working out. Surprise, surprise. But during that time, Ryan was so jealous about the fact that I was talking to David. He went and told that whole hookah bar that I cheated on him and that I left him for David, and that I cheated on him and that I broke his heart, and that when he saw David, it was on site. Let me remind you that Ryan and David used to be friends. They weren't friends currently, but they like used to be. Like, you know, when you have a friend, you guys are like really close, you do everything together, and then after time, like, you just drift apart and don't really talk anymore. That was their situation. So I just thought it was really weird that he was making up lies like that. Like, how do you cheat when you're not ever together? You know that lyric that's like, that's not cheating if I wasn't with your ass? No. Like, literally. I was so jealous. He would call me and he'd be like, he's just gonna use you, he's just gonna talk to you, and he's just gonna end up like leaving you like he does with everybody else. So it's funny because like David and Ryan both said the same exact things about each other because they were like the same person. So there's that. So me and David ended up not working out, and I remember it was Mother's Day and I went to my friend's house because she just got in surgery. I was checking in on her, and for some reason Ryan just kept popping back up into my mind, and in my mind I was like, maybe I ruined something that could have been really good for me. Like, maybe me and him were meant to be together and I was just stupid and screwed it up because like he was just different than anybody I had really ever talked to, and this could have been something really good for me. And I was like, the universe is gonna align us back together. It's just gonna happen because we're meant to be. And so I ended up texting him, basically apologizing for talking to David after him and for ending things with him and hurting him. And I basically was just like, I'm really sorry, and like, if you ever want to talk and just be friends, I'm totally up for the idea. And he texted me back and he was like, thank you for reaching out, I appreciate it, I forgive you. And he was like, you know, maybe we could in the future, but I'm just not ready right now. And I kind of was sad, but I just had to respect his decision and try to move on as best as I can. Scroll forward a few weeks later, I was at Payless getting some shoes, and I ended up getting a text from Ryan saying, hey, come to, call him Alex. He's like, come to Alex's house and jump on the trampoline. Now, Alex was also a friend of mine and my best friend, but we had never all hung out together, like me, my best friend, her boyfriend, Alex, and Ryan. It was just like we would hang out with Alex outside of hanging out with Ryan. But they ended up meeting up one day and hanging out, and he was like, hey, come to Alex's house and jump on the trampoline. So me, like, wanting to get back together with him, I was like jumping for joy. I was like, yes, this is gonna be so great. We're gonna get married, and like I'm already thinking about my bridesmaids dresses. I'm just kidding, but like in my head, my hopeless romantic ass, naive, low self-esteem is like, oh my god, yes, it's happening. So I ended up texting my best friend. We ended up going over there, and long story short, he texted me and he was like, can we go talk somewhere? And I was like, okay. So we went and talked, and he basically was like, listen, like, I do still really like you and I have feelings for you, and I invited you over here today so we could kind of talk and see if maybe you wanted this to go somewhere, but I have a girlfriend. Red flag number 8,750 quadruple whatever. So I told him, I said, well, I appreciate you wanting to talk to me and work things out, but if you have a girlfriend, I can't talk to you. Like, I was like, I'm just not that type of girl. And I was like, if you know, there's ever a time where you become single organically, not because of me, because you end up just drifting from her or whatever, I said, maybe we could work things out, but I was like, I don't feel comfortable talking to you when you have a girlfriend, but I was like, we can be friends though. And he didn't like that type of answer. He got kind of upset with me. But like, I'm just not the type to break up. I'm not a homewrecker. Sorry, not happening. And while he was there, remember this, he was driving this red car that he said was his sister's. And just keep that in mind because it will play a part later on in the story. Over the next month, I would say, him and that girl ended up kind of drifting apart, and we would text here and there, but I would keep it appropriate. He wouldn't. Like, I would just be very friendly because I've had that done to me before, and I did not want to do it to this girl. But I was into him, and I was young, and I was naive, so I would text him, but it would just be friendly. But he would, on his end, would be like, let's hang out, let's go to the beach, let's do this and that. And I'm like, no, you have a girlfriend. It's not happening. Like, you need to, like, you guys can, you know, do your thing, and if you end up being single, like, let me know. But I was like, for right now, I'm not comfortable with it. But that was just such a red flag, because if he will cheat with you, he will cheat on you. And he never cheated with me. Let's just keep that there. But he basically was mentally, because he was texting me all these inappropriate things when he had a girlfriend. So why did I think that it'd be different with me, you know? We ended up drifting apart and not talking, you know, breaking up, not really talking anymore. And he was like, so he ends up telling me that basically the whole time that they were together that he was living with her, and that he was now leaving her and moving back to his sister's house, and that me and him could finally be together. And I was just like, I didn't want it to happen this way. I wanted you guys to, like, you know, if it ended up aligning and working out and you guys broke up and then we got together, cool, but I didn't want you to, like, intentionally break up with her so we could be together. And I just started to feel like, what the fuck did I get myself into? He ends up moving back to his sister's house, and he ends up saying, I don't have a car, I need to go look for a car today. And I'm like, well, why don't you have a car? And he's like, well, that red car my sister ended up getting rid of, so now I don't have it anymore. But he said, you know, nonetheless, I'm single now, I would love to try to pursue something with you, so let's start hanging out. Over the next few weeks, I went over his house several times. He lived about 30 minutes from me, and I would always go to his house. He would never come to me, never even offer to come to me. He also worked an hour away from where he lived, so he needed a car. He ended up finding one really fast, but it was a car that required, like, a lot of money for gas. It was like a big truck, and I think it took about $100 to fill up. And during this time, he was telling me that since he moved back in with his sister, that he was having to pay rent, and he just had to buy a new car, and he has to always put gas on it because he has to go to work every day, and it's expensive, and this, that, and the third. And so, you know, during this time, he almost made me feel like, you know, I did all this for you and now I'm broke. So in my mind, I'm thinking I need to help him out, and I would give him money for gas. He would drive to my job. I would leave him my, like, debit card underneath my seat. He would get it. He'd fill his tank up, or he'd fill it up halfway and put it back. Sometimes when I was on the way to his house, he would tell me how hungry he was and how he didn't have money for food. So I'd stop at Subway and get him food. Meanwhile, I just started my job a couple months ago, so I was in no financial state to be, you know, giving him food and helping him with gas and things like that. But I felt so bad because he would, like, just gaslight me so much and make me feel like, you know, I'm the reason that he's broke and I'm the reason why this and that, that I felt like it was almost my responsibility to do this for him. He would also tell me constantly that this living situation with his sister was temporary and that he needed a real place to live, and that he was only allowed to stay with her for a couple months until he got back on his feet. And he would constantly send me pictures of like apartments and be like, this one's great, I could see us in this apartment together, and I could see us living here together and doing this and that. And I'm just like, I'm 19 years old, I am not ready to move in with somebody. And again, he'd make me feel bad. I apologize, my camera died, so if the angle looks weird, whatever, that's the reason. So let me wrap this up because we're already a long time in and there's so much more to cover. I think I was just talking about how basically he was saying that like he didn't have any money for things. He had to pay his sister rent, I would buy him food, I would fill up his gas tank, etc. That's just the type of person that I am. I feel like when you're in we weren't even in a relationship, that's the fucked up part. We were together. But if you're with somebody and like you have it and they don't, and you have the means to like give to them, or if there's a way you could help, I feel like you should, because like I'd want someone to do that for me, you know what I'm saying? And you get what you put out. But the thing that would be weird is that he didn't have money to do things, right? Like we stopped going anywhere. I'd be like, oh, come with us to the hookah bar tonight, or we're gonna go to the movies, come with us. And he'd be like, oh, I don't have money, or like I can't drive my car because I don't have gas, and I don't, you know, and I'd be like, okay, well, let me come pick you up, or like I'll pay for you. And he's like, no, I don't want you to do that. But then like when his friends would ask him to hang out and they would pick him up, he would go. So that was when stuff started taking a turn for the worse. And also what was weird is that he always said that he didn't have money, but then he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go waterproof the whole inside of my truck today. Like I'm gonna buy all this stuff to make sure that when I take the top off and if it rains, everything will be waterproof. And I'm like, that's a good chunk of change right there, but yet you can't pay $5 to get into a hookah bar? Make it make sense. So stuff started taking a turn for the worse, I would say, when stuff just started getting weird. Like he would go out, like, okay, I would ask him to come out with us and he wouldn't come out. The only time I would see him is if I went to his house. He stopped going out with me altogether. And then, but if I had plans, he'd be like, oh, it's a shame you have plans tonight because I was going to ask you to go to dinner. Like just like manipulative, gaslighting, narcissistic things like that. And then he'd be out with his friends at the hookah bar till like 2 in the morning. So like I'd work 9 to 6. I'd come home and he'd be just going out. So I'd come home, I'd like shower, eat dinner, and he'd be just going out around like 7:30. And then from like 7:30, 8 o'clock to like 1 o'clock in the morning, I wouldn't hear anything from him. And there was always an excuse like, oh, there wasn't, you know, good service there. Oh, I was trying to be like in the moment with my friends. And then he would text me when he got home at like 1, 2 in the morning when I have to wake up the next day for work. So we were like barely communicating, barely talking. And I just found it weird. I'm filming. The time that we really communicated was when he had the time to at 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't get it. So little things just kind of started coming to the surface. Like he would act weird. He would, you know, not go out with me, but he'd go out with his friends. He would text me at weird hours of the night. He would be getting home mad late. And then one day I was on his Facebook and this girl had like sent him a picture. Like it was like a picture that she like painted or drew or something, and she posted it and tagged him in it. And I'm like, what is going on here? And right away my instincts were like, something is not right, something is not okay. And so when I had gone to his house the next time, I confronted him about it and I was like, who is this chick posting art like on your Facebook? And I'm not gonna lie, it was a nice picture that she drew and she painted. It was very nice, but I'm like, why is she tagging your name in it? And I think there was like a heart next to it too. And he goes, oh,
that's my longtime childhood friend. She bought a tattoo machine from me and I've been teaching her how to use it lately. So in return of me teaching her how to use the tattooing machine, she painted me a picture.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Just right away right there, that should have been red flag number 1,000,000. But of course I was naive and I was just like, oh, okay, like cool. But I kept it in the back of my head, right? One night I was leaving a concert because like I said, I was super into country music. I was leaving a country concert and I was on my way home and I had about an hour ride home, and he was like, can you please come over and sleep over tonight? I'm going through a lot right now and I just kind of need like your presence. And I said, absolutely, I'll come right now. So I ended up going there, and the weird thing to me is that he wasn't home. Like I got there and he was like, I'm not home yet, I'm 5 minutes up the road. Me and Alex, remember Alex, the kid's house that we went to jump on his trampoline? He was like, me and Alex went out with one of our friends and he's dropping everybody off now. I'm the next stop. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting not in his driveway, I'm sitting like on the street because he didn't have it. Apparently my camera decided that I had no more memory on it. So again, if angle's different, if this is a hot mess of a story and you want to click off now, I don't blame you. Basically, to wrap this up, I ended up going to his house one night when he had asked me to. He was not home yet. I was on the street with my car waiting for him to arrive. A black car pulls up and he gets out, and he doesn't come up to my car and like say like, hey, we can go inside now. He goes up to his house, opens the mailbox, looks in, closes it, waits for the car to drive away, and then comes to my car. Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Who checks for their mail at that time? Where do they do that at? And that to me was so weird. I'm like, why is he checking his mailbox? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Normally when you like pull up to your house and someone's there waiting for you, you get out the car right away and you're like, come on, like, let's go inside. No. And he was doing that because whoever was in the car, he did not want to know that another female was there. And the windows were so tinted, I couldn't see who was driving. So anyway, what ends up happening is I go to his house. We, you know, I sleep over, whatever, wake up the next morning, I go home, okay? Listen to this. So I had confronted him about the whole mailbox thing, and when I did that, he accused me of being crazy. He was like,
you're crazy, you're always on some bullshit, you're always saying that I'm doing this and doing that, and you're always asking me questions about everything I'm doing, like, why are you acting insecure, X, Y, and Z. And
during this whole entire like process of us being together, I would always get called crazy, always say that I was paranoid, always say that I didn't trust him, always say that I was overthinking. I was always made out to seem like I was the one that was the problem. And that is called gaslighting and manipulation. It's 2 key characteristics to a narcissist and a compulsive liar, which is what this kid was. This is just like the surface of everything that I've gone through with this kid. I get home and I get a call from my best friend. You know, in that Janae Aiko song where she's like,
Tina, that's my bitch cause she tells me everything.
Yeah, that song or whatever. Like, that's how I feel about my best friend, because there's been multiple times where like somebody has been like cheating on me or doing something wrong to me, and she has been able to like somehow find out by just being at the right place at the right time, and she's been able to let me know the information. So shout out to her. But anyway, I get home and she calls me and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I just pulled up to my house, whatever. And she's like, okay, go inside, like sit down for a minute and then call me because I have some stuff to share. This was before the whole tea term was used, but if this was during like this era, it would have been like, I got some tea, sis, so go sit down and get yourself a glass of wine. I go inside, I call her, and I'm like, what? And like, it's weird because she wasn't able to tell me right away what was up, but I knew it was something. Like, I just had this gut feeling. I'm like, here we fucking go. So she goes, okay, so like, you know, my boyfriend, he was with his friend and they were hanging out, and they went to go pick up this girl that they used to hang out with back in the day. I guess they got into contact recently and they wanted to link. So he was like, he went to go pick up this girl, and the girl got in the car and they're driving, and they automatically can sense that like something's wrong with this girl. So they ask her like, what's up? And she's like, I've just been talking to this kid lately and I feel like he's not being honest with me. I feel like something's up. Like, he's just so shady, and like he's now becoming super distant from me and I don't get it. And they're like, okay, so like who is it? Like, who are you talking to? And she's like, I don't want to say because you guys know him. And like, okay, well, like, who are, like, just tell us. Like, we can't help you until you tell us. Tell me why this girl says, I'm talking to Ryan. I've been talking to Ryan for 2 months. When I tell you, I was livid. And guess who the girl was? The girl who commented on his Facebook with the picture, the art that she made for him with the heart, the girl that he gave the tattooing machine to. And guess who was the person who dropped him off that night when he went to his mailbox and then went to my car? It was her. So, in conclusion, the reason why he was going out to the hookah bar and not texting me until he got home late at night was because he was going to the hookah bar with her, and he didn't want to be on his phone the whole time and be rude while he was with the side chick. Guess why he stopped going places with me and stopped going to the hookah bar with me? Because he didn't want her to find out and word to get around that he was messing with the both of us. Guess why he was saying that he needed money, X, Y, and Z or whatever, to help with his car and to help with gas and food? Because he actually lost his job like 2 weeks prior to us getting together again. Like, there was just so many lies. Oh, and the red car, remember the red car I said that he had at our friend Alex's house that one time that he said was his sister's? That was his current girlfriend's at the time that he was using. So when he got kicked out of her house when they broke up or whatever, that's why he had no car, because it was hers. Also, I ended up finding out later on that he had never paid rent at his sister's house. She never even asked him for rent, never asked him for assistance, nothing, groceries, nothing. He had never spent a dime while living at that place. There were so many lies and manipulations, and like, that's why he would make me seem like I was crazy, because he knew subconsciously that what he was doing to me, like cheating on me and all of that and lying to me, that what he was doing was wrong. And to cover up that guilt and make him feel validated, he had to project all of that stuff onto me. I ended up basically finding out that he was cheating on me with this girl, and I ended up texting him and being basically like, never talk to me again. I know everything. I found everything out. I want nothing to do with you ever again. Him telling me that he didn't have money was actually because he had gotten fired from his job because he was late multiple times, and he was just running out of money because he spent it carelessly. But instead of being honest about that, he had to lie and say that his sister was making him pay rent knowing that he was broke, and again, just manipulating somebody else into thinking about, you know, feeling sorry for him and fulfilling all of these lies. Like, I really think that he believed his own lies. That's how, like, sick. I don't get it. I just don't get how you do that to somebody. When you lie so much, you have to keep up with all those lies. When you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said because you said the truth. Like, it costs nothing to tell the truth and be a decent person. It takes so much energy to lie. Like, I just don't understand why people do it. It boggles my mind, literally. So long story short, I ended up texting him and saying, like, don't talk to me ever again. I know everything. Like, I'm done. And I was, you guys. That's, like, my number one thing. Is, like, when somebody cheats on me, like, I'm done. Like, there's no coming back from that. I'm not going to torture myself and think in the back of my mind constantly if you're texting other girls, if you're doing this, if you're doing that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to do that. So I ended up ending it with him. Me and my friends that night ended up going to the fireworks, and I ended up being with my best friend and Alex, who was our mutual friend. And tell me why this boy, Ryan, texts him and goes,
if Dakota's never going to talk to me again, fine, but let her know that what I did to her is the same thing that she did to me with David.
Again, gaslight and manipulation. Like, how are you going to compare the situations when I started talking to David, me and you only knew each other for 2 days and I cut it off right away. Me and you were talking for months, and then you decided to do this with this girl. And that was just a way to make me feel bad, and I think it was also a way to ignite some type of like outrage. That way I would text him, which it worked because I did. And along the lines, he ended up admitting everything to me. He said that the whole entire time that me and him were talking, he was talking to her, that it was not just a one-time thing. She would come over his house and they would sleep together. They would go to the hookah bars together. And in my mind, like, you know, cheating is one thing if you go out to a party and you're belligerently drunk and you accidentally end up kissing somebody. That's one thing. Maybe I could look past that a little bit, not excuse it completely, but maybe I could come to terms with the fact that you made a mistake and you're human. But you intentionally invited this girl over, had her lay down in your bed multiple times, the same bed that me and you laid down in, and cheated on me with her. That's not okay. It's not okay. And I, you know, not only did I feel bad for myself, but I felt bad for this girl, because I'm like, imagine how much he was leading her on the entire time too. And I ended up asking him, I'm like, how long were you planning to keep this going? Like, were you ever going to end things with her, or was this just going to be like a thing that you kept up for months and months and months? And he had told me apparently how that day, I guess he had ended things with her, and that's why when she went into my friend's boyfriend's car, she was so upset. So long story short, I ended up ending things with him. This is before you could block somebody on the iPhone, or before I knew how to. And I ended up, you know, he would text me constantly and be like, I'm so sorry, X, Y, and Z, like, please talk to me, whatever. And I just didn't want anything to do with him. I did not speak to him. I ended up visiting Jersey to visit one of my really good friends, and I ended up finding out that him and that girl actually ended up being in a relationship, which I thought is so funny, because if she meant nothing to you, and if she was just, you know, someone that you were entertaining but not actually interested in, then why would you be in a relationship with her? And I'm sorry, but for her end too, like, if you knew that this guy was messing with you and me at the same time, why would you be with him? That just says more about you than anything. I just don't get it. But if you think this ends there, it doesn't, because after all of the cheating and the lying and the scandals, I ended up finding out 2 weeks later that I was pregnant. Oh my god, I'm telling you, that's why I said in the beginning of this story, like, this would only happen to me. Kind of does, I guess, a little bit disclose who this person is, but not really unless you know him, because this kid does not have one trace of my social media. He is not anywhere, like, in any pictures with me, like, nothing at all. So if you don't know me personally, you would have absolutely no idea who this kid is. Like, there is not one trace of us together on any social media platform. Again, if you know who this person is, please just don't be messy. Like, it's supposed to be entertaining and fun and lighthearted. I look back at the story and I laugh because it's just, I can't believe how naive I was, and I can't believe that this actually happened to me. I guess for the ending message and conclusion is, know your worth. If you feel like something is happening, chances are it probably is. I've never heard of men's intuition, but I've heard of women's intuition, and that's for a reason. We always know what is up in our gut, in our mind, in our soul. We know when somebody is not being honest and faithful to us, but instead of us going with that feeling, we try to make ourselves believe that they're actually a good person, that people are genuine like we are. People out here in this world do not have the same heart as you. People out here in this world do not have the same intentions as you. And there are people in this world who will hurt you behind your back but then smile at you to your face. But when you catch them in the act, make you feel like you're the problem. That is gaslighting, that's manipulation. These are key characteristics to a narcissistic person. After him, I really learned what the term narcissistic is, and I kind of felt comfort in knowing that this has everything to do with him and nothing to do with me. Have any crazy cheating stories, please leave them in the comments below, because I look back and I think it's just hilarious. And it's not funny, but like, it's funny to look back and see like how much I've grown as a person, I guess. And I feel like, what's life if you can't laugh at yourself every now and then? If you did like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Also hit that bell icon so you are notified every single time I post a video here on YouTube. If you guys want me to do more story times, I have so many. I have like, literally, I was in my phone today and I was just writing down like ideas. I have a whole folder of crazy stuff that has happened to me. This is like moderately crazy. I have like astronomically crazy. So if you want more, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned or resonated or, you know, connected with something that I shared or taught any of you in this video. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.